When you think of Prime Fortnite, which chapter comes to mind? The obvious answer is Chapter 1, and some make a case for Chapter 2. But there's a chapter in Fortnite that I believe gets heavily overlooked, and that is Fortnite Chapter 4. You see, here's the thing. If you remove the nostalgia factor from the Fortnite OG days, Chapter 4 could really be considered the greatest chapter of all time. Not one of the greatest, the greatest. The gameplay was fun. The content creation scene was thriving. And in this chapter, we saw the biggest resurgence of players ever during Fortnite OG. So what exactly makes Chapter 4 worthy of being the best chapter in Fortnite history? Well, it all starts with the map. Thank you to Amex and Wimbledon for sponsoring this video. Season 1, we have a brand new map, and for the first time ever, we are introduced to these new yellow autumn-themed biomes. And Epic made some big changes to Unreal Engine and how the game looks. Like, if you guys remember, there was a lot of videos showcasing this map in full 4K with all these new lumen light settings that made the game look beautiful. On top of that, we had some pretty good map diversity right off the rip. We had a snow and a grass biome, as well as the new autumn biome. This is one of the best Season 1 maps ever. Great colors and POIs, and the majority of the map stuck to a certain theme, medieval. You also had the staples like a farm, a factory, and new spots like a bowling alley, frenzy fields, slappy shores, and faulty splits. Now, obviously it started like this, but every season of Chapter 4 heavily changed the map and introduced brand new biomes, some we have never seen before. So what got added in Chapter 4? Now, for movement, we have hurdling, and when it was first introduced, it was a bit buggy and they ended up disabling it, but now it's been fixed and returned to the game. We also got these new movement items like the Shockwave Hammer, which was a fan favorite instantly and was extremely fun to use even after they nerfed it. We had kinetic ore on the map, these big rocks found near shattered slabs, and you could use them to launch yourself or them across the map, and it created for some super viral clips. We have the introduction of dirt bikes, which could perform wheelies and extra cool tricks. And you could shoot your weapons while driving around with these bikes, which added a little bit more flair. Then we had slap items. Slap juice gave you infinite stamina for a short duration, allowing you to sprint and move around the map. All of these additions sped up the pace of the game and promoted a more aggressive playstyle, which some people really enjoyed. We also got a huge game changer with augments. Epic added these new abilities that you could unlock throughout the game, and some of them completely changed the way the match was played. Some of the best ones, like the Riftjector Seat, where if your shield breaks, you were rifted into the sky instantly. Or Aerialist, which gave you the ability to glide or redeploy. Or the Chug Gunner, where you just received an exotic Chug Cannon. Mythic Munition giving you a Mythic Tactical Pistol, or Forecast allowing you to see future storm circles. Other augments were fun for different reasons, like taking soaring sprints and combining them with the exotic double barrel, allowing you to fly in the sky infinitely as long as you had shotgun ammo. And we can't forget Party Time, where over time you just had a balloon spawn above you, and you could combine this with the kinetic Shockwave Hammer and the Excalibur rifle to create some nasty aerial combination. At the time, this was huge, and it was a big gameplay decision that really impacted all of the matches. It made every single match feel very different because every match you ended up with different augments. And this is kind of an overlooked mechanic because even I forgot about this, but they added this new heat level where as you eliminated players and played the match, you would actually increase your movement speed and regen health out of combat. You can go all the way up to heat level 4. The trade-off, though, is that your location is pinged to other players. Now, this only lasted 2 weeks and never returned to the game, which probably means it wasn't that well received, but Epic was trying things all the way back in Chapter 4. Now, I touched on this, but the graphics were crazy. This was one of the biggest graphical updates we have seen to the game. Unreal Engine 5 got updated. We got Lumen and Nanite graphics. This was a huge leap, and the game just looked so colorful and pretty to look at, which can't be said for every chapter after Chapter 4. Now let's talk about the content, because the content on YouTube and Twitch was popping off during this chapter. A lot of people thought Fortnite was over, that it was dead. The end of Chapter 3 was looking a little bit grim, and we had a pretty terrible end of chapter event to take us from Chapter 3 to Chapter 4. It was awful. It was probably the worst live event ever. But Videos were still getting millions of views. The biggest streamers in the world, like Ninja, Tfue, Nick30, they're all still playing the game. We had some iconic video concepts like Big Bobby AI, which became popular in Chapter 4. Competitive and casual players were thriving. Squads with Tfue, Cloaksy, and Tim the Tatman were a regular thing, and a lot of it has to do with AIs not being as abundant. The player base was huge, and even in squads, there was a good amount of players that were real and not AI. Now we need to talk about the collaborations. Chapter 4 brought us some of the craziest, most game-changing collaborations ever, with some of the biggest IPs ever that fans have been waiting on. Attack on Titan, with a full built-in map teaser, fun mythics and skins that were added as a result, and the ODM gear actually played insanely well. This is a Fortnite game with fully functioning ODM gear. Epic also brought back the Dragon Ball Mythic with another wave of Dragon Ball skins. Mr. Beast showed up with his $1 million tournament, the Hulk, Kid Leroy, My Hero Academia, and so many more collabs. Chapter 4 was a chapter filled with collaborations like we've never seen. Now listen, I am not going to rewrite history. I think Chapter 4 Season 1 could have been the greatest season ever, but it's not, and there's a reason why it's not. If you don't remember, there were a ton of bugs with the start of this chapter. Thankfully, Chapter 4 Season 2 and onwards, Epic was able to fix most, if not all, of these bugs. But Chapter 4 Season 1 was plagued with more bugs than any season ever before. There was a Shockwave Hammer car glitch, bike plus shield keg, duplication glitch, giant pickaxe visual bug, as well as not being able to reload, a mantle bug that launched you across the map, sometimes eliminating you. Hurdling never worked properly. There was fall damage sometimes with the Shockwave Hammer, an invisibility glitch, teleporting across the map, slow sprint bug. Even Ninja was tweeting about how many bugs there are in the game. It was absurd, but once those bugs were fixed, we had a really good time. And something that persisted for the entire chapter of Chapter 4 was the mid-match objectives, which we don't really have much these days, but mid-map objectives came in and really spiced up the battle royale genre, because the mid game is where the match feels a little bit flat. You hot drop and you fight some players off spawn, you gather some loot, but then you run around looking for other players, and there's not really a sense of direction besides the storm circle, which is taking its sweet time. But back in Chapter 4, we had some very interesting mid-game objectives. Every major POI had a capture point where if you held it down and captured it, you would scan the area as well as get a good amount of loot. It made hot dropping even more intense because people could go for the capture point early on to have that early advantage against the other teams at that POI, and there was always a fight that broke out around the flag. On top of that, Epic added Rift encounters. These were small parts of different realities rifting onto the Chapter 4 map randomly. Some of them just gave you some extra loot or NPCs to look at, but some of them were very powerful, like a rock with 3 llamas, a porta potty with a bunch of slurp barrels, an NPC that stood around 3 chests. Sometimes it was a vehicle or a launch pad spawn, or just some NPCs dancing, but it kind of kept every single match a little bit interesting and exciting, and some of them felt like they were more rare to run into, like the llamas, which gave you a huge boost to your game. There were also hollow chests around the map, and you could find the hollow keys to open these chests for some purple and gold weapons. So this season was overall a huge success once they fixed the bugs. We had OG content creators like Tfue and Scissors returning to the game and making content and streaming. This was definitely the second or third best season of this chapter. It could have been first overall if it wasn't very buggy, and you really can't ignore the bugs when ranking this season. Let's jump into season number 2 of Chapter 4. Because if you thought Fortnite started strong with season 1 and they weren't going to carry that momentum, you're wrong. Because season 2 gave us Mega City, the biggest POI we have ever seen to rival Tilted Towers. We have a brand new Japanese themed biome with 3 new POIs: Mega City, Steamy Springs, Kenjutsu Crossing, and Naughty Nets. For mobility, they followed up the kinetic hammer with the kinetic blade, and it lives up to the hype. Rogue bikes were also added and found near Mega City. They were similar to dirt bikes, but they were better for paved roads. We also got the Nitro Drifter car, which was goated for drifting and using the new racetrack north of Mega. And then, of course, the Attack on Titan update with ODM gear. This was a huge collaboration that completely changed the game. As an Attack on Titan fan, they did such a great job with this collab. And then for the mid-game, Fortnite added an island that would spawn randomly around the map, and there was a capture point that would grant you unique mythics throughout the rest of the chapter. When it first got added, it gave you the overclocked pulse rifle, probably the most overpowered and fun assault rifle in Fortnite history. Legendary slurps were also added, which healed you 200 health fully, and these were insanely overpowered. You also had combat caches that would spawn in the third zone, and a combat cache had a 100% chance of giving you a legendary slurp, and it actually got marked on the map for you and one other player. So these two players would encounter each other and have to fight for the combat cache. Every 35 seconds that the combat cache was not open, the rarity of the cache would drop down from legendary all the way down to rare, forcing you to end the fight quicker and get to there before it loses its rarity. Augments, of course, stuck around during this season. They removed most of them and then they added 7 new ones. And I will say, augments kind of got deteriorated throughout the chapter. They started off very strong and they were very game changing, but eventually they just became kind of a chore to use. So I'm not sure why Epic kind of misplayed the augments there, but it was still pretty interesting in season 2. In season 2, we also got the removal of Arena, and there was a new rank system with 7 new divisions. The traditional bronze to Unreal that we have today got introduced during this chapter. Now, there weren't as many bugs in season 2. There were some, but Epic was quick to fix them, including this very crazy bug that people figured out where they could disconnect their Wi-Fi and then eliminate players with the kinetic blade. And then when they reconnect their Wi-Fi, all the damage would spawn on them at once and they wouldn't even know what hit them. Now we talk about season 3. This is definitely the weakest season of chapter 4. Okay, without a doubt, it is the weakest season. However, it gave us some iconic moments, like the Nick A30 "You Think You're the King" meme. Nick A30 was really leaning into the roleplay and 100-player customs during this season. Even I started recreating this meme because of how much it blew up. You think you're the king? I'm the king. You in what army? Oh, crap. Speaking of blowing up, we also had one of the biggest Fortnite UEFN maps ever, which launched during this season, Only Up. A recreation of the Steam Only Up, but in the Fortnite world, and this was played by millions and millions of players. It has amassed 7.2 billion minutes of playtime, and it is still one of the top 30 played non-epic maps to this day. This kind of took over during the summer because Battle Royale was in a slump with a weaker season. There was millions of views generated from this map of people trying to break the world record and people like myself reacting to the world record being broken. And honestly, it's been a few years since I've played an Only Up map in Fortnite, but believe it or not, these are still going strong to this day. People love parkour maps, and there was one recently made in collaboration with American Express and Wimbledon. It's called Wimbledon Up. And I actually played this map on stream recently, and it was giving me flashbacks to chapter 4. It is not an easy map to complete. When you first load into Wimbledon Up, you're going to see this opening cutscene, which actually goes kind of hard, and it kind of sets the stage as to how the map is designed. Then you jump on top of this tennis ball to launch up into the air and begin your run. The map is separated by rounds with a leaderboard, so you can check in on your pace or even race your friends. And you'll earn prestige points just by playing, and you can use those to upgrade your character. There are plenty of perks like a faster sprint speed, increased luck, and more. My personal record is 876 meters high, and I want to see if you guys can actually beat that. Huge thank you to Wimbledon and American Express for showcasing the glory of Wimbledon in this Fortnite experience. If you guys want to check it out, the code is on screen. Hop on and try to beat my record. Let's jump back into the map for season 3 because they added this massive jungle biome and it was kind of crazy. It was a whole new biome with a bunch of different plants and different areas to move around, but there was a lot of complaints about this biome. The fog, the foliage, the trees, which made it harder to fight in. You were getting jumped in this biome left and right. There was a lot of people sneaking around. It wasn't a very pretty or fun biome to actually fight in. There were 3 new POIs: Rumble Ruins, Creaky Compound, and Shady Stilts. So Fortnite failed to impress us with this jungle biome. We get it. But what's worse than that is every season we had a new kinetic weapon. Season 1, the kinetic hammer. It was goated. Season 2, the kinetic blade. Also goated. Season 3, the kinetic boomerang. Oh my God, it was bad. I might have gotten 1 or 2 eliminations with this thing the entire season. No one was using it. They also added the Cybertron cannon, which was just a meme gun and was also rarely used. And there was these wild wasp jars, which were annoying to fight against, but you never really killed anyone with them. The drum shotgun was back and it was super spammy, so the meta was kind of shaky. However, thankfully, Epic added one item this season that kind of saved the season: the Mammoth Pistol. One of the most favorite weapons added to the game came in during a low point in Chapter 4. Fortnite brought back bounty boards as a fun mid-match gameplay loop, and for mobility, there were these raptors that you could ride around the map, but they were also very aggressive and not that great. They did add mud sliding, and there was a fun glitch discovered where you could slide way faster than intended, but they eventually fixed that as well. This season was a little flat. The jungle biome didn't hit, the loot pool was a little mid, but we did get the Mammoth Pistol, and while it is the weakest season of the chapter, it still holds strong compared to some of the seasons we've had after. But Fortnite knew. They knew they had to lock in with Season 4 of Chapter 4, and we can see in the player count that this was the highest played season of the chapter, besides Fortnite OG. When Fortnite is in doubt, they know what to do. A heist season is upon us, and that's exactly what we got for the last full season of this chapter. They introduced Sanguine Suites, Relentless Retreat, and Eclipse Estates. 3 baller POIs that people love to land at, fight the boss, and open the vault. It created for fantastic early game content and drops. Nick A30 was doing the Agent Fish Troll. We were hiding in vaults as statues. There was so much to work with. We got the My Hero collaboration with Todoroki's Ice Wall, which was great in Zero build. We got slap splashes and a new mobility item, the Rocket Ram. Very unique and was very fun to use. For the mid game, we got the addition of Forecast Towers, where if you killed the boss and used the card, you could see future storm circles. And this was included in tournaments as well, which made for some very fun encounters. And this was the final season with augments, and they've never been seen since. So Chapter 4 really was the chapter for augments. And while they were fun in the beginning, they eventually got watered down, and Epic replaced them with what we now know as sprites. During Chapter 4 Season 4, though, with the player counts at all-time highs, we started getting teasers. Teasers of a July 12th, 2018, back when OG Season 5 released. Additionally, Season 5 items started appearing on the map, like the Tomato Temple Head, Durr Burger, and Dusty Diner. This was the most anticipated and hype moment in gaming culture, the return of Fortnite OG. They cooked on the teasers, even giving OG streamers IRL props, like Tim the Tatman getting the Tomato Head Temple Head, or Dr. Lupo getting the Dusty Diner sign, Ninja getting Durr Burger, Courage getting the Truckin' Oasis sign. All of this led to the biggest season ever that we know of in Fortnite history. 1 month of Fortnite OG. Everyone came back to Fortnite except Fearless. Content creators were sent teaser items that played their OG clips, like their very first wins. Even C-Day got one. That was the very first time the OG Fortnite map was playable since October 2019. Over 11 million people logged into the game, more than 5 million playing Battle Royale at the same time. And for the entire month of November, over 100 million people played Fortnite. We got the OG map and weapons, but they kept things like sprinting and mantling for a more modern take. Ninja was immediately pulling in tens of thousands of viewers, and viewership on Twitch and YouTube was at an all-time high. Everything was going viral. Fortnite's announcement post had over 229,000 likes. There was so much marketing that went into this season with nostalgia catered teasers. They teased bringing it back in 2024 with 236,000 likes on this tweet. It was also a massive tournament with a lot of Fortnite OGs that ended up resulting in a Peely versus Pros final match for a $100,000 tournament. We had players like Aiden, Summit 1G, Dr. Lupo, and all the OGs returning to the game after years of not playing. This was a pivotal moment for Fortnite as a game. And with all the attention back on Fortnite, they had a massive end of chapter event that teased and revealed the metaverse that they had been working on all these years. Everyone came back. Hype was at an all-time high. OGs got to relive their memories and best moments all over again. New players got to experience the glory days for the very first time. And for 1 month, Fortnite was nearly perfect. And in my opinion, this was the best way to end the best chapter in Fortnite history. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe.